You are looking live at St. Vincent College. Where would you rather be than right here, right now?
Here we go.
We pride ourselves on going Latrobe.
You know, our fans are surrounding us, coming down the hill as we're coming down to practice.
Really excited about getting this team development process started with this group.
The sun is bright, the field is clean, so let's get some football on.
This is what we've been waiting for. You can feel the anticipation here on campus.
Great to see you. Welcome back. I'm sure you've missed these halls, these dorms, this environment. You are still looking live at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and Steelers Training Camp 2024. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Pursuta, joined by Max Starks. We are your tag team for the morning show this year. Steelers moving practices, at least the weekday practices, in training camp to 10:30 a.m. start times. So we will be here for an hour every day from 10:30 to 11:30. Then they will hold some interview sessions and lunch, and then Craig Wolfley and I will eventually be back to wrap things up for you in the mid-afternoon. But for now, first things first, Max, we are here to kick things off in Training Camp 2024. And as we do so, I want to let everybody know that we are streaming live on all the Steelers digital and social platforms. You also might be listening to us on Steelers Nation Radio. So if you're not finding us, it's not our fault. But Max, I've been doing these camps every year but COVID year since 1987, and I hope you can sense that the enthusiasm in my voice is genuine. Mike Tomlin may like this stuff more than I do, maybe. But if he does, it's not by much. What are your emotions as we begin again here?
Well, I think for me, like the biggest thing is this is like a family reunion. It's the first day. Everybody is coming back. You're seeing each other. You're happy to be around ball. And today is a lighthearted day because you look at the weather, it couldn't be more perfect from a player's perspective. Now, I'm not sure Mike Tomlin likes this weather conditions for the first day of camp, but it's nice and breezy. Yeah, that's the thing. It's nice and breezy out, but it's fun to see the faces. All the enthusiasm that you want to have is being exhibited on that first day. Now, 2 weeks in, we'll have a different story. But for right now, this is an awesome environment. I'm happy to be back. It felt like me, like the first day of school, seeing everybody as I was walking out the halls of my dorm room and saying hello and greeting. And then, I realized there's going to be a point where it'll be like, oh, yeah, I am in school. I am in training camp. But for right now, all the youthful exuberance is here.
And as already mentioned, it is the morning. It's 10:30. That's going to lead to cooler temperatures no matter how hot it gets out here in Westmoreland County. And traditionally, it gets pretty hot. But we are doing Training Camp Live presented by FedEx, each and every morning. And Mike Tomlin talked yesterday about a number of subjects, including why the Steelers have opted to start things during the weekdays at 10:30 as opposed to the traditional mid-afternoon start time.
We were just really pressed for time after practice in terms of our night meetings, and oftentimes we're making corrections and coaching points in the following morning. And it's better for teaching and learning when you get that immediate feedback. And so we just bought ourselves more time on the backside of our day so that we could have more immediate feedback, teaching and learning based on the tape that we put out that day. It's just some challenges to the 11-hour workday in a setting like this, and so we moved the practice back a little bit in an effort for that. But also, oftentimes guys are rushed at dinner, and we want to make sure we do a good job of feeding the guys and that they bring an appropriate appetite to dinner. So those are a couple of byproducts and reasons why we're moving the practice to earlier in the day.
It's actually a lot to unpack there, Max.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, did you ever feel rushed during the meetings at night? Did you feel as if things weren't being gone over as thoroughly as they maybe needed to be? And did you ever experience corrections the day after? And would you have preferred the night before?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, and I agree with Mike Tomlin when it comes to this about needing more time because the schedule's changed drastically since when I played. And there's no more two-a-days. See, when you had two-a-days, the morning practice was full, like they're going to have when they get pads, and then you have a meeting then. And then you go and immediately correct it in the afternoon practice, and then you have your meetings in the evening. So there was more access to players. But with the new CBA, with the new timing on training camp rules, the acclimation, you don't have as much time because you have a set amount of time you can have contact with the players in an official setting. So I think for the new rules, this is more beneficial. You can get that young teaching, and you got new pieces in place. I mean, we saw last year with how much turnover there was. And when I played, we didn't have that much. We had 10 to 15 player rollover, but you're talking about 40-plus guys that have now changed, that are now new on this roster. Heck, all the quarterbacks we got here were not here a year ago. So I think that's more important to have that more contact time, especially at certain position groups.
By the way, I should apologize for the way I phrased that question. I should have asked if, in theory, you would have preferred corrections immediately, because
instead of the back of my
certainly
day,
you never made a mistake that needed to be corrected, right?
No, always. I was
other
perfect.
guys.
What are
maybe.
you talking about? Every step, every movement, awesome every time.
If you'd like to get in on the fun, you can send your questions to us on the Steelers social media platforms at Steelers Live. Max and I will get to as many of those as we possibly can as the day progresses. We are just getting started here at training camp. And, Max, you mentioned all the turnover a minute ago, particularly new coordinator and 3 new quarterbacks. I've only been doing this since 1987. I don't recall that happening before. I mean, how unprecedented is this, and how challenging is it going to be to get to where they need to be by early September?
I think this is something like you. I've never seen this. We literally overhauled the entire quarterback room, and you brought in a new coordinator. Now, the one thing I will say is that everybody's going to progress at the same speed. Now, how that speed works, we will see out here in camp. I'd like to think that when you have a guy like Russell Wilson, a guy like Justin Fields, who's already been started, they have a lot of reps, they understand how to be a pro, that it's going to be sped up, but it's indicative of how fast you get that rapport with the running backs, how fast you get the rapport with the wide receivers, offensive linemen getting in sync with the cadence and how quarterbacks like to do things. But I think they can be ready, and they can be effective by the time season starts. But it's going to be a challenge, and this is the forging ground, right? This is the proving grounds for everybody that's trying to make a team. Nobody's guaranteed, and we're on the road to 53.
Yeah, a lot of talk about that yesterday on reporting day, including, two that stick out to me. T.J. Watt and Russell Wilson both said when the pads come on, you're going to start finding out what you need to know, but not until then. We will be eagerly anticipating that development as always. But in the meantime, there has to be a starting point, and there has to be an acclimation period, so here we are. Mike Tomlin announcing yesterday that 3 players are not available today. Linebackers Dean Lowry and Cole Holcomb are opening camp on the physically unable to perform list. Those guys are trying to get over pre-existing injuries. And Cordero Patterson is on the non-football injury list. Mike Tomlin saying yesterday, Max, that Patterson had a little bit of a hamstring issue while he was training and trying to get ready. That's one of the guys I'm as curious to see as anyone else, given his track record in this league and given the new rules and protocols on kickoffs.
No, he's going to be a welcome addition. I think about that Atlanta game we had a couple years ago when we went down to Atlanta, and Cordero Patterson was everywhere deployed for Arthur Smith. So this is a guy that I think Arthur Smith has plans for, not only how he's going to have his non-offensive duties, but what he brings to an offense from a versatility standpoint. And you're talking about a 12-year vet that's done everything the right way. So once he's available, it will be amazing to see, especially when you talk about the new special teams and kickoff rules.
You got an idea how those are going to play out? I heard some speculation in the springtime about maybe one big stretch play in terms of a kickoff return because of the close proximity of the blockers and the guys doing the covering and the effect that's going to have on a return.
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways. If you watch the XFL, the UFL now, and how that kickoff played, it could be a long stretch way, or you could get something where you might get a possible misdirection out of there. There's a lot of capabilities within it, and when you have quick, short motion, or what we call sudden guys, it's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of different things because you can go with the grain and set up that wall, or you could go with a structured cutback lane as well, or you could do something where you hand it off to somebody in a wing motion. So I'm excited to see because there's so many different things, and I trust the special teams minds out there, especially Coach Danny and company. Those type of guys are going to feast in these moments, and we're going to see some more action on the kickoff where we haven't seen as much over the last couple of years.
It's interesting that the Steelers brought back Tyler Matakevich in advance of training camp, and Mike Tomlin asked about that yesterday. He said, hey, known special teams guys are always a commodity, but now in particular. And the roster might even be influenced by this. Who knows?
Well, you have to believe that the roster is going to have some type of effect. Guys who can do something special in special teams always have a place on this roster. And I know we don't count the importance of 1 through 53, but those couple of difference makers, there's usually about 3 to 5 spots that are reserved for guys who possess a unique skill set.
Get a look at your guys now warming up on the field, and we see Isaac Seumalo, the left guard. He's to the left of number 62 as they are doing some rotating at center. That's Ryan McCollum. We got to look at Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle a moment ago. There's Nate Herbig, who I guess is the incumbent center for the time being.
For the time being until Frazier
stay tuned on
over.
that one. How do you anticipate all this is going to shake out?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate our camera work here and getting the most attractive men on the field on the screen at one time. It's a lot of sexiness on one screen. I don't know if the camera's going to break in the process. But the offensive line room, I'm really excited about this. When you're talking about what the possibilities could be in an Arthur Smith offense with the run emphasis, the physicality that not only the young guys bring to this, but these veterans are going to feast from this. They're going to benefit from this style. When you think of Broderick Jones, Dan Moore, and Nate Herbig, who's a physical, nasty guy, they're going to benefit from this. And then you add in Zach Frazier, who will be competing with Herbig for the starting center position. Mason McCormick, who's going to feel his way in at the swing interior. And then, of course, our first-round draft pick, Troy Fautano. That kid was a special player at Washington, and I can't wait to see how he fits in the Steelers mold. And it's going to be a great competition. There's a lot of good camp battles that are going to come from that offensive line group.
Yeah, there you get a look at Zach Frazier, the second-round center from West Virginia. And
he's built like a Tonka truck.
If you're paying attention in the background, Max, you can see Broderick Jones to the right of guard James Daniels. So
that was his position a year ago.
That's temporary status quo. There's a lot going on there.
It's a starting place, right? It's a starting place. He played that a year ago.
You know, Mike Tomlin talked about that yesterday, and there was a school of thought that the Steelers, one of the reasons they kind of eased the rookies into it, and I'm talking about Jones and Joey Porter Jr., they were not game one starters. They had to work their way in eventually. And some of the reasons why expressed were that there was concern about the rookie wall, and the Steelers wanted to make sure those guys were at their best at the end of the year as opposed to petering out because the season's too long. But Mike Tomlin said yesterday, Max, that that's not a hard and fast rule. It depends on the maturity of the player, how fast players can mature physically and into their roles. And he talked about this year's draft class, particularly Frazier and Fautano. They have a lot more college experience than a guy such as Jones did. Broderick Jones had 19 career starts at Georgia and came out as a 3-year guy. Zach Frazier this year, 46 career starts and a 4-year guy. Fautano's a 4-year guy with 31 career starts and 41 career games played. So maybe the door's a little bit wider open this year for the first couple picks to arrive sooner in terms of achieving starting roles.
Well, no, and that's the goal.
Maybe.
Right? That's the goal, is that more experience leads to a faster maturation. But at the end of the day, when the pads come on, you start playing and you start digesting this playbook and you start going out there improving. It's what are your natural tendencies and how fast do you learn? That's what's going to be the biggest differentiator. And there were still some things that Broderick needed to learn and polish his game. And for any rookie, it's a tough prospect. Just because you get drafted in the first round or you get drafted high doesn't guarantee a starting job. It guarantees a better opportunity. And that's what everybody has out here. So now it's go out and prove it.
You know, he impressed me on a number of levels last year. I'm talking about Jones still,
Yeah.
but he never seemed to have a sense of urgency or angst about when he was going to start. The vibe I got from him was, hey, it's going to happen. It's just a question of when. I'm just going to keep getting better every day and make sure I'm ready when I get tapped on the shoulder and told that I'm starting. And I thought he did that, and he did it on both sides, a little bit on the left and a lot on the right. And he has expressed multiple times, Max, he does not care what side he plays on. He doesn't have a favorite side. It's almost like hockey. Some guys can play left wing or right wing. Some guys can only play their side. Same thing with tackles. Dan Moore Jr. has been telling everybody who wants to listen for 2 years that he really does not like playing right tackle, and he doesn't think he's very good at it. What's the dynamic at stake there?
Well, I think because
or in play there.
He's dyed in the wool left tackle, played it in college, and then was forced into the situation his rookie year where you had Chooks Okorafor. Chooks was supposed to take the left tackle. He didn't. He had to move back to right. Zach Banner doesn't come back healthy. So now you force him in that position. Well, now you've been programmed to only play left. You haven't had enough time to acclimate to the right. So I think for Dan it's a little bit different, but for Broderick, you listed it, 19 career starts. You can't really say much about I'm just this one thing. But I think also Broderick realized the amount of talent that was on the right side rushing is just as good as the talent that's on the left side. So you're going to get the best guy regardless of which side you play on. It's no longer left side gets the most elite guy. The elite guys now like to go on the right side or their left side, and they want to rush. You think of the Bosas of the world, T.J. Watt, right? Those are the guys, Max Crosby.
And even if it's not those guys, a lot of guys, Myles Garrett, they'll move around.
Yeah.
They'll find a guy. Just because you're listed at a certain spot on the depth chart, that doesn't mean where your pass rush is coming from.
Yeah, and it's going to change. Defensive coordinators are realizing they're trying to find mismatches. And so you don't want to be the weakest link on either side, where you draw that matchup. But
again,
you have to be prepared.
Little to no experience talking about this, so you're talking in
Yeah, absolutely. I've never played right or left tackle multiple times in my career. I only played, 36 straight starts at right tackle before I moved to left for 7 years.
So it's an interesting O-line group, and we saw the changes, an investment made there last year, and they're continuing to do that this year. Let's get back to Frazier a little bit.
Yeah.
46 career starts in 47 games at West Virginia, almost a perfect slate in terms of starting every game he ever played, and a guy who had some opportunities thanks to the transfer portal to move around if he wanted to, but he was loyal to his home state school, West Virginia. I'm looking for something not to like about this kid, and I haven't found it yet, Max.
Well, I think when you think about a center position, it's not as the glamorous, I guess if you could call offensive line play, like a tackle. Like tackles tend to move more, maybe some of your guards. But a center, the personality trait is really what's important, and that's consistency, finishing what you start, and just having a dogged mentality about wanting to be the best at your craft. And I think Zach Frazier embodies that, right? When you talk about, okay, I'm in the Big 12, I'm playing against all this top competition, but I have a name that I can move around. Centers aren't attracted by that. They just want to be the best at what they do. They want to be creatures of habit and have their own ritual in place. I mean, this is a guy that if he wasn't playing football, I think of my buddy John Malecki, who was here on the team for a number of years, one of my good teammates. He's now a carpenter. Like, that's the mentality that you have to have at the center. You're a woodworker. I'm going to do it until I get it just right. I'll shave a little bit here, shave a little bit here until I get to my finished product. And that's what a center is, and I think that's indicative of Zach Frazier. He's going to keep working day in, day out, and consistently work to get just a little bit better and become the elite guy that he knows he can be. And I'm really excited about having him on the squad.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. Probably Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator in particular. He's new to the coaching staff, but they certainly have given him a lot of toys to play with upon arrival.
Oh, giving him a lot of toys. And you think about already coming in, knowing that you had a Jalen Warren and an Najee Harris in the backfield, knowing you have a George Pickens, the prospect of what Calvin Austin can be, and then you go out in free agency, you acquire Russell Wilson, you acquire Justin Fields, you get a Kyle Allen, you got a John Rice Plumlee, who's a very Justice Fields-esque as far as his run capabilities. As a kid, I watched in college for a number of years, even before he went to UCF, and he was at Ole Miss. Then you think about drafting a Roman Wilson and adding him, and then all of the offensive line characteristics that you built on already a good offensive line. It's like a kid in a candy store. It's like a kid that gets his parents' credit card at a toy store and says, just go have fun. That's essentially what you've created with him. And let's not forget about a Pat Freiermuth, another guy who can change the elements of the game. And when you watch Tennessee from the time when Arthur Smith was the OC, what did those guys benefit from? The running backs benefited, which made the quarterback's job a lot easier. And you saw A.J. Brown on that squad still have numbers, even though it was a more limited passing game with more of the run installed. And the tight ends benefited because everybody was so worried about the run, you could dump it over the top to tight ends. And who better to dump it over the top than to Pat Freiermuth?
Yeah, I think that's probably, if we want to project ahead maybe to what the biggest changes will be in the Arthur Smith year, I think at the end of last year, it finally got around to what they had been after, the running game and then building off of that. But I agree with you, the tight end position. Now, Freiermuth wasn't healthy all the time. I don't know if he was as involved as he would have liked. It surprised me, at least, that Darnell Washington wasn't targeted more often. But I look at this group now, and particularly if you're wanting to run the ball, and you can go with multiple tight ends more often than not. Blocking, probably Pat Freiermuth's probably not as good a blocker as he is at getting open and catching the football. Washington, whether you throw to him or not, boy, they started moving people when he was in the games last year as the year progressed. And Connor Hayward, who is technically a fullback, I guess.
Listed on paper, only on paper.
Tight end fullback. He's kind of that, do a little bit of everything guy, get him in space, make plays. I see the identity of this offense. I see the tight ends contributing mightily to that this year.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, hello, 21 personnel. That's all I'm going to say. 21 personnel, I think, will be one of the top groups in regular running down situations.
And by 21 personnel, you mean?
2 tight ends, 1 running back.
Isn't that 12 personnel?
No, 12 personnel is 1 tight end and 2 running backs. So if Connor Hayward's in, you could call it 12. If Darnell Washington's in, you call it 21. So it's just potato,
2 or 3
potato.
would be my preference.
2 or 3?
Tight ends.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
Okay, well, we're going to go with 21 for the first time. And then 12, well, you see 83 in there. And I think it has to be with at least 2 of those guys in most of the time, like you said, because I think that presents a problem for any defense of who to cover. You can't double anybody, and you have to play true.
And particularly when you have guys, and we've seen this happen to the Steelers. I think the Cleveland Browns have been very good at using multiple tight ends and making you think they're going to run, then they spread it out, and now they're throwing it. Or they can also run with it if they want to. You're sort of dictating to the defense as opposed to letting the defense load up against the pass or the run. I think there's a lot of advantages to that. And I think, New England with the 2 tight ends that the Patriots had a little bit longer ago. These guys are so versatile, and that makes them almost invaluable.
Well, and like you said, I think New England really showed you that it was okay to have multiple tight ends and make them viable passing threats. Because I think before that, you thought 1 tight end, he's either a passing tight end or a blocking tight end. and then you saw the versatility of having a running and blocking tight end. Heath Miller was that kind of guy, but we didn't have that second to really let him shine. And then Matt Spaeth came along. We had Jeremy Tumans of the world that gave us an option. But with these, when you think of Connor Hayward, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, I don't have a fear if I have to line either one of those guys up in a slot. Imagine a pre-snap motion where you're in line showing 7 across the board, right? 5 offensive linemen, 2 tight ends. Pre-snap motion or some type of zip motion, Pat Freiermuth is now a slot. Or he's now out ISO'd by himself with 2 twins receivers to the left. Like, there's so many different things you can do that the defense can never be right. There's never the right personnel in, because the offense can dictate to them how they want them to look, and they can manipulate that front given those circumstances.
Yeah, Freiermuth, I think, is near the top of the list of really interesting guys coming into this season. At least he'd be near the top of my list.
Yeah.
Number one, because of my fascination with the position and my desire, as I just stated, use as many tight ends as you can, as often as you can. But you look at his season last year, he was not healthy all the time. There were some other contributing factors, but he had his least productive season. I think he's poised to have his best. And you know who else thinks that? The position coach, Alfredo Roberts. Had a chance to talk to him about Pat Freiermuth at the end of minicamp. And there's a lot of anticipation for Pat Freiermuth finally being in the right place at the right time with this group, these quarterbacks, and this coordinator.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like you said, injuries really sidelined, pun intended, the progression of Pat Freiermuth. But I think most importantly is he knows that, and he wants to go out and prove that. He's a hard-nosed football player. He loves this game, and he loves contributing and helping everybody else get better. And he realized you can only do that if you're on the field. So I think when you come in with that mentality, you come in with this coordinator and what his resume and his history is, you look at 88 and you say, we're going to hear that name. We're going to hear the Muth a lot this season.
You know, another thing that really made an impression on me regarding Arthur Smith is when he started listing, and he's done this a couple of times, the litany of people he has worked with in his career who have been with the Steelers at some point as either a player or a coach, and kind of the football lifer that he is, and the appreciation he has for this team and this franchise. And I bet he loves being up here. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet since we got here, but he really is, I think, all in on this.
No, I think you have to be, because when you come around so many different people and you hear what this place is and what we know the Steelers organization to be, you can't help but want to be a part of that. Any team that has had only 3 head coaches since the NFL merger in 1970, and for all of our Gen Alphas that don't know, that was in the last century, the latter third, okay? It was a time where bell bottoms were popular.
You used to have this thing called the AFL.
Yeah, the AFL.
And then there was the NFL.
Yeah, and then there was the NFL, and then they came together, and the NFL. So what you thought was the XFL and the USFL and how it came to be the UFL, similar thing except for way better, is what happened. But as we go, that was my history lesson for the day. That was my history lesson for the day. But I think for Arthur Smith, you have to be encouraged by that. That means that they're willing to give people time to get into a groove, and they have trust and loyalty associated with, whereas in this game you can't really get that in a lot of facets, whether it's coaching or playing. But to know there's an organization that holds those ideals, you have to be encouraged and empowered by those type of things.
Yeah, the other thing I really like about, at least what I think I know about his approach, ball control. Right, you mentioned when he was at Tennessee, they still had explosive components. A.J. Brown and Tannehill could throw the ball downfield, but it wasn't a passing circus. They weren't throwing the ball all over the yard. They were controlling it. They were controlling the tempo of games. And, Max, when you do that, you know, the best defense is at its best when it's not playing.
No, and that was one of the things that our defense always said to us back when I played. Like, listen, if you let us rest, we'll hunt. And that was the mentality we had. Possess and win the time of possession game. as an offense and as a line, that's our personal charge, right? I always say this. The offensive line is the heartbeat of the team. As that heart beats more efficiently, the blood flows through everybody else, and everybody else gets what they need. And if you can control the offense, the line of scrimmage, and you possess the ball more than 30 minutes a game, your defense is going to appreciate that, and they're going to reward you with more ball opportunities because that leads to takeaways, that leads to sacks, that leads to explosive plays that change the possession and flip a field. So if this offense can do what we think it can, it's going to be really beneficial to those guys in the yellow shirts out there.
It's almost as if all the pieces are in place and you can kind of sit here and see how they fit together.
Yeah.
Almost.
But
it's all theory right now.
All theory. Hey, we got the picture on the puzzle box. And now we got all these pieces that we got to fit together.
Steelers going through their paces down on the field here at St. Vincent. Of course, no shoulder pads yet. There you get a look at Najee Harris, who showed up yesterday, Max, and said that even though they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, he'd still like to be here long term.
Well, I think that's the right mentality and that's the right thing to do. You know, in an era where guys are holding out, they're upset, and they're scrubbing their social media, I think that's one of the worst approaches you can have when there's a season ahead of you. And then knowing what the opportunity is for that position group at running back, he's a Bama guy. I'm sure he's talked to Derrick Henry a time or two and said, hey, D, how was your time with Big A? And I'm sure D was like, I am very happy. Look at my numbers.
I believe he had his best years of his career.
What? He got the nickname King Henry while he was with Arthur Smith. I mean, who else? King Najee. I'm sure he wants that name. King Harris. And I think that can be accomplished. So I don't think you need to worry about contracts and length and everything. It's if I produce, it will come. And this is a great opportunity and a great system to do just that, produce.
Doing a little ball protection here is Najee Harris with two footballs, and he's clutching them while Connor Hayward and Pat Fryer.
I really think that Connor's really dogging it right now. I could have seen a better right cross in there or some type of snatch drill. They're taking it easy on him.
He's pacing himself, Sergeant Holka.
It's day one. You should have all your energy there. Look at that. That guy has a boxing glove on a piece of PVC piping and is punching. That's effort right there.
Yeah, this is actually a big deal. You know, Mike Tomlin is probably just out of our shot yelling, today's a great day for ball security or something of that nature.
Of course.
They harp on it constantly.
Yeah. And you don't – we're calling them by their names right now, but down on the field, Mike Tomlin, hey, 2-2, hey, 8-3, 8-8. He's calling them by numbers because you have to earn everything, you know, and that's what this process is. It's a back-to-basics moment, and we see Mike T talking with General Manager Omar Khan right now, but it's that personality you have to – oh, look, Ryan Shazier in the background on a coaching internship. Good to see him out here. But that's the mentality. You have to earn that. Now, I know they don't put the –
oh, there's your boxing glove.
See, there it is. There's a boxing glove. Pick one of those up and hit a guy. I mean, granted, you probably get in trouble because they don't have pads on, but it's still fun to see regardless. I'm going to go pick one of those up later, Pursuit. I'm going to hit you with it.
I'd rather you didn't. There's another look at Najee Harris exploding after the handoff. I did a show with our colleague Missy Matthews several years ago. We were playing around, kind of jousting.
See, exactly. It's a pugil stick, man. Yeah. It's like for American Gladiators. Just take one of those out. We're not going to stand on anything because obviously we're too advanced of age to be falling off of anything. But it's just fun to practice, you know. Like I'm ribbing you right now. I could use a PVC boxing glove and just hit you in the ribs.
It is amazing what those running backs have at their disposal. The position coach, Eddie Faulkner, he likes his gadgets, doesn't he? They got there's a gauntlet they run through and swinging bags and the boxing glove at the end of a stick.
Yeah, the tire thing as well. So, I mean, but that's the fun part of it. It's like, how can you make football fun while still getting a purpose? Like you said, that gauntlet with all those little nubs on it, that's to do the same thing that they're doing with the manual drill, but you don't need as many people. So you can get the work on your own. There's that one little one-man sled that's at the end of it, so you can work on your spin moves off of a guy when you break down. So, I mean, you look at it.
You bounce off a ball and try to change direction.
Yeah, oh, yeah, the bounce.
Like a beach ball kind of thing.
Yes, that Bosu ball.
Yeah.
The boat. And look, there's another PVC setup out there. I've never seen that before behind us in the foreground. I don't even know what that is. I guess it's to keep your head down.
Oh, I think it's the tight ends.
No, that's receiver.
Or is that wide receivers? Yeah.
I see a lot of low numbers. It's skinny guys. But I guess it's to work out of their breaks off their stances. But that's the fun thing. I mean, the offensive line, we always kept toys. You know, we had our low shoots, what we call them, to make sure you stayed low and rised up on an angle. We have round bags, square bags, the jersey pads, I call them, the arm pads. So, I mean, this is the stuff, any way you could get a guy to effectuate himself with what's going on, I think you have to use everything available to you and make it fun, because this is a grind, especially when you get into week 2, week 3 of camp. You want to make sure that you're keeping guys engaged and make it fun and make it a contest.
By the way, if you make it out here to St. Vincent, try to position yourself where you can see the tight ends attacking the sled when the pads come on, because when Darnell Washington gives that thing 2 forearms, I think somebody's going to have to call NASA someday, because it's going into orbit.
He is an explosive dude. For his height, for his size dimensions, he presents some physically impressive traits. And like you said, we call that being heavy-handed. And he has heavy hands, but still soft enough to catch a football. But he possesses those offensive lineman-type traits and a very big body that can move really fast.
Everybody says they'd like to throw him the ball more this year. You think they will?
They better. I mean, or else we're going to be on the broadcast talking about how they're not throwing it to him, because when we were at camp, and you remember this last year, Mike, he was a rookie trying to figure himself out. He was having some exercise or injury things that he was dealing with. But when it came to 7 shots, when it came to scrimmage, got to have it moments, who are they looking for?
Red zone.
Red zone, he was
down.
A threat.
I remember every time something broke down when Mitch Trubisky was running the show, veteran that he was, he would look for the guy with the biggest catch radius whose head was above everybody else and lob him the ball, and a play was made. Yeah. And then for some reason it went away when the game started to count.
And that's what I think was one of the flaws, if we're looking back at last year. You didn't properly utilize or figure out how to accommodate what Darnell Washington presented. And the problem that it did, the off times they did throw to him in a game, defenses were scrambling after that, because like, oh my God, he's a viable threat. We just thought this was a large moving object downfield. We're waiting for like an illegal man downfield call because they mistaked him for an offensive lineman as much as he blocked. But he is a guy who can change things up, and he's tough to bring down. That was the other thing, Mike. Like, it's not only that he can catch, but he is tough to tackle. So you would think you'd want to utilize that skill set. I think Arthur Smith's going to have fun with that tight end room and mixing them into the rotation.
Yeah, maybe another reason why they should use tight ends 2 and 3 at a time. If I mentioned, I'd be in favor of that.
No, it's the first time I've heard this. It's a brand new novel concept.
Might be a running theme out here at St. Vincent this summer. Hey, if you're just finding us, this is Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx. And we're going to be here until 11:30. New schedule this year during the week, 10:30 to 11:30 is our broadcast time. We are streaming live on all the Steelers digital and social platforms. You can also find us on Steelers Nation Radio. Of course, to do these shows, we had to get here. Everybody had to get here. Otherwise, nothing would be happening on the field, and we wouldn't be here. So let's take a look now at how the Steelers got here to St. Vincent College, in particular, wide receiver Calvin Austin III.
Shoes. Gotta have a go-to hoodie. It's impossible to pack this bag, man. With a better quality suitcase. There we go. Got that together. Shoot, very good right there. Coach Tomlin says, like, to get those unique results, like, you got to do stuff different. And, you know, not too many teams, I imagine, you know, going to St. Vincent College and staying there for camp. So, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, conversations and laughs, all that, you know, all you have up there is football and your teammates. We finna just build. This is the start to a Super Bowl season, you know. That's what you want it to be. You want to look back and be like, man, I remember pulling in here. Now the confetti rain, you know what I'm saying? Like, so. Here we go.
That was Calvin Austin III from the Standard. New season of the Standard will be coming soon to the Steelers social and digital platforms. Max, that's a guy that kind of went away last year. You saw him take the top off the Raiders defense and then not much thereafter. But at a position that is seemingly in transition, maybe a guy who's been here all along can start making more of a name for himself.
I think this is a great opportunity. It's a new opportunity, a new slate, because you have a new offensive coordinator. So Arthur Smith doesn't know truly that much about Calvin Austin, and he now gets to judge him from a clean lens. And when you look at this room, and I'm just going to read through these names real quick. It's going to be numerical order, not alphabetical order. But Jacob Copeland, Roman Wilson, Van Jefferson, Scott Miller, George Pickens, Quez Watkins, Marquez Callaway, Calvin Austin, Jeray Jenkins, Des Fitzpatrick, and Deuce Watts. There's a lot of guys to fiddle your way through. And once you go through this, you're going to start to stand out. Because remember rookie year, Calvin Austin, it was like, man, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. You get the injury. He's not available his rookie year. And then last year, you're like, he's healthy. He's ready to go. Let's see what he can do. The Raiders game happens. And then flux on the offense start to happen. And Calvin Austin gets lost in the wash. And I know, don't let the height fool you. Even though Calvin Austin III is sitting at a very tall 5'7", the kid has a special skill set. The 4.43 is fast
right?
on paper,
yeah,
but it's even faster on the field. I feel like you take off about 1/10 of a second when he gets on cleats and on the grass. So he's a guy that can really turn heads if the opportunity presents itself, especially when you think about the big plays, the big explosive plays that Arthur Smith likes to mix in with that run game when defenses start to get closer to the line of scrimmage. Calvin Austin is a direct beneficiary that can blow the top off of a coverage and really make things questionable for a defense. So I'm really looking forward to how he's going to project, and I think he could have a nice, prominent role, especially in the slot position here on this team.
I wonder if playing on an offense where maybe they're running the ball a great deal and the safeties are coming up would enhance his opportunities to get deep.
I think it does.
I think it does.
I think just a little bit. And also, you think about some of the jet sweep stuff. He could really be a guy that could benefit from that as well, as long as it's properly executed. I think that's what we have to be in the mindset of. Calvin Austin and Cordero Patterson, I feel like, are going to be utilized in similar type of ways. Not as much in the backfield as Cordero kind of has done as of late, but the movement of positions and where you line him up to get a mismatch is going to be on display. He's one of the other tweener guys that I like to see how they deploy him.
You know, I think Roman Wilson might be a guy who falls into that slot category as well. I don't know about outside, but Roman Wilson went to a Big Ten school and did very well.
He did. What school was that?
I can't recall, but I did see him play a lot, and I got to tell you, he's combative, he's tough. He had a high average per catch, but I think most of it was catch short and run long, as our old offensive coordinator, Coach Randy, used to say. Roman Wilson's not the biggest guy out there, but he will be as competitive as anybody. He knows how to find the sticks. He knows how to find the end zone. He can take a hit. I'm curious and then some to see the kind of impact he can make as a rookie, because I think it can be impactful. I don't know what kind of numbers he's going to have, but I think he's going to make plays.
Well, I think that's all you could ask for. And
he went to Michigan, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You just gotta. It's the same school. You just cut off the state aspect. That's all it is. A lot more wins and a national championship, right? Did they win a national championship?
I don't know about that.
They brought a championship to the Mitten. Is it state of Michigan? Is that what it is? A little mitten, a little waving Michigan. They were waving by to Michigan State as
you can make Pennsylvania that way too.
Yeah. But no, I think when you think about Roman Wilson, when you think about, the success he had, he's that short area quickness guy. They call it SAQ when you're judging stats. So the SAQ, he has a very high SAQ, and that quickness allows for the versatility. But I think when you have defenses that play up tight, just like I talked, Calvin Austin is going to burn you over the top. Roman Wilson can weave through, and he can create a gauntlet, an obstacle course, and make himself very slippery and tough to catch. So I think he also could have an opportunity on the outside as an ISO guy, because you'll get some of those DBs, because DBs aren't all 6'1". They're not Joey Porter Jr. out there. You still have some 5'10" DBs, and you can create those matchups where I think he can be an outside threat as well. And now you can interchange him and Calvin Austin with how you want to deploy this off, especially if you're using 2 tight ends or more.
Of course, a lot of focus and a lot of attention on that wide receiver position. It's going to be under scrutiny for sure out here at St. Vincent College. But in the event you might be a little worried about it, rest assured quarterback Russell Wilson is not. Give a listen to Russell Wilson talking about the wide receivers that he's going to be throwing to with his new team upon reporting yesterday.
We got a lot of playmakers. I'm really excited. Obviously, GP is a special player. George Pickens, he's going to do a lot of great things. I mean, just watching the film, training with him, throwing with him, all those things that he can do. I think Calvin Austin's been amazing all offseason. Just watching his speed, his ability to get in and out of routes. Van Jefferson, his diligence. We spent a lot of time with the guys in the offseason throwing and just watching guys like Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller. There's so many guys that are excited for Roman Wilson to see what he can do. Right. I think that a guy who's been a champion in college, it's one thing to do at the highest level in college, is another thing to do in the NFL, and I think he has that mentality of wanting to be that every day. And there's a lot of other guys too. Marquez Callaway's fighting, and a lot of other great players. I'm excited about our tight ends. I think we've got a great tight end room. I think Pat Freiermuth is a guy that I've watched over the years, his ability to get in and out, his ability to make catches, contested catches, third downs. I'm excited about that with him. A guy that's, I think a dark horse player, one of the most talented guys, you can play any sport, is Connor Hayward. I just watch him, hang out with us in San Diego and throwing with him, and all the back shoulders, we try to push him and catch him on, and he can do it all, man. I just think that this guy's a tremendous football player. I'm excited to see big Darnell Washington too. He's a guy that's, I don't know how big he is. He looks like he's 6'9". He looks like he should be playing for the USA men's basketball team. But he's just a freak athlete, and so we want to get him the ball too. And there's just a plethora of guys that can make plays. I'm excited for Najee Harris and Jalen too. Those guys kept coming out of the backfield. Those guys running downhill. And it all starts with the offensive line. Those guys up front. I mean, we've had a really good offseason up front. I'm excited about that too. Some of the younger additions too. Those guys got to work for it every day. And so it's all of us together. It's all hands on deck, and we're excited about that.
That was Russell Wilson yesterday upon reporting. I think he hit every guy on the roster.
I think he has them memorized. I think he's kept a good arduous notes about each guy. He named he just rattled them off, and expectations of each and initial impressions. Russell, he's so great with dealing with the media.
You heard about the Russell Wilson experience, right? Throughout his career. I've been around him just a little bit since he got here. I get it.
Well, and you were in the screen. You were right over his shoulder for most of that interview, too. I see you positioned yourself perfectly for a little screen time.
Max, you've done a lot of work with me. I don't just sit at the desk and look pretty. I get out there in the trenches. I do the heavy lifting. Then I come here and polish it up, and then we present it to the people.
And we have this tremendous morning show now.
The more you can do.
Thank you for your dedication and your sacrifice.
The more you can do. I learned that here from Chuck Noll in 1980-something. Now the field's named after him.
Well, and I had a T-shirt that said, use me. That was Mike Tomlin's version of the more you can do was, make yourself usable. So I used to wear that shirt around as well. So same concept. We both come from the same school of thought.
Same concept, same page. Let's see if we are agreeable in terms of questions that are being submitted here to Training Camp Live presented by FedEx. Max, who are they most excited to see for the first time there? Queen, Elliott, Frazier, Wilson, Fontana. That's very well worded.
That is awesome. So if I said Wilson, just left it at that. But no. Well, I think I'm really excited to see really that entire list. When you think about what a Zach Frazier and the departure of Mason Cole really brings an opportunity between Herbig and Frazier about who can contend. And I think Fautano, when you're a first-round draft pick, there's natural expectations to draw towards them. But I'm really excited to see Patrick Queen fit on this defense. We've been looking for that middle backer that can really fly around, be a difference maker, and be a leader of the defense. So I'm really excited to see what Patrick Queen brings to this defense. And, of course, I'm excited to see what Russell Wilson's going to do as a leader under this Arthur Smith offense.
I'll go same church but different pew. Peyton Wilson fascinates me.
Okay.
I can remember watching the Senior Bowl. Now, I knew who he was because he won all the awards. I didn't see NC State play last year, but I knew what he had done. Then I turned on the first Senior Bowl practice on the NFL Network and saw him running around down there in Mobile, Alabama, and thought, oh, okay, that's that guy. I get it now. And then everything I've heard about him since, his combine, his tape, a deeper dive, beyond the Butkus Award and whatever else he won, that play where he hit 22 miles an hour against Notre Dame, chasing the guy down from behind. I think my fascination with 2 and 3 tight ends is matched only by my fascination with more nickel and less dime.
Yeah. More
2 linebacker, 5 defensive back sub packages, and fewer 1 linebacker, 6 defensive back sub packages. I think Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen give them a great opportunity to do that.
No, I completely agree. I think when you think about nickel formations and what that brings, there was always a susceptibility about who could run and who could defend the point with a lighter box. You get those questions answered potentially. And I think for Peyton Wilson, nickel is a great spot where he can fill in. I don't know if I put him in regular personnel, but in a sub package, that's where he shines. Because like you said, coverage capability, instinctiveness, and a guy who likes to put his face in the fan, as we like to call it. He loves to hit.
Oh,
that's a perfect position. I don't think he has the weight to be an every down linebacker yet. I think he'll develop into that. But what he is right now is a perfect nickel backer that can give you run or pass support and not worry. It's a set it and forget it type of mentality, like a crock pot.
We're on the same page here. That was good stuff. I like the Wilson thing.
Yeah, that was good.
Actually identifying. But they're all fascinating. We just talked about Roman Wilson and of course, Russell Wilson. The Russell Wilson experience is all-encompassing here at St. Vincent College and on the south side of Pittsburgh. Let's go to another question, see if it's worded as creatively as that one was. Do you think we'll end up seeing any special packages for Justin Fields on offense? Good question.
That's a great question, B-Wall. I think anything is possible. That's where I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to give away state secrets just yet, but there is an opportunity here where you could absolutely have an opportunity to put some packages in to change the tempo of a game. I would like to think that there was no need for a special package for Justin Fields if everything's going right, but I think if you want to keep teams on their toes, if you want to make defensive coordinators pop no-dos and have to drink a lot of coffee at night, adding a Justin Fields package would do just that and more. And the mobility aspect that he brings, I think it would be tough not to see some type of coordination where he's involved.
Yeah, I think we will as well, and I'm just spitballing here. But the athletic ability that we have seen since his arrival is real. I mean, this guy comes as average. I mean, he's a 1,000-yard rusher in the NFL as a quarterback.
As a QB.
He's got a great arm.
And he knows how to slide. That's most important at a quarterback position. He knows how to slide. A lot of guys that run don't really do that well. He can do it very well.
Short yardage package, goal line package.
Yeah.
Throw a curveball into the game package because it's not going the way they want it to go. Yeah, I don't think he's just going to sit there and hold a clipboard and, wait for an injury. But that's just me.
I mean, and I'm in the same school of thought. And because everything is new, you have a new – it's different if both Russell and both Justin came here and there's an established offensive coordinator. They're all coming in as transfers together. And so they're like, hey, we're the new kids in school. Let's form our group and let's try and do things our way fresh start for all of us. And I think that's something that you have to be inclusive of, because there are skill sets that each of these guys possess that can exploit opposing defenses. So why not have them readily available, especially if he has a jersey on? Why not use him? The use me mentality, right?
The more you can do. Hey, we're 2 for 2 on these questions. You want to go for the hat trick?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go hat
See if
trick.
we can make it 3 for 3. See what else we got here. How tall is the ceiling for Nick Herbig and Keanu Benton this season? I say very tall. Mike, thanks for taking the photo with us last night.
Oh, there we go.
Over
Look
at the
at
hotel.
that.
Yeah.
That's stalkerish.
I'll lead this one
in a
off.
good way.
Keanu Benton, Mike Tomlin said, was asked what he expects from Keanu Benton in year 2. You know, Tomlin expects a leap. And Tomlin's response was, big things, big things. I concur. This kid's a player. Bucky Badger is coming to hunt.
And I think that's what the whole cue was how well are the Wisconsin guys going to do this season? But I will say this.
No, actually, it's the guys that sent that in are from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So.
But they're Wisconsin fans. You asked for Herbig and Benton. Where'd they go to college?
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson is also one of those guys. They didn't ask a Russell Wilson question, but there is a lot of Wisconsin
he
here.
Finished at Wisconsin after NC State.
Yeah. I mean, I do love cheese, but no, I think the ceiling's very high. I think the expectations are really high for them. Keanu Benton, his rookie year, he had flashes. And for a rookie on defense, that's what you want to see. And I think for Herbig, he had his splashes. Now it's time to settle in and establish a quality rotation. And I think when you add Herbig's capability and a year under his belt with what Alex Highsmith and T.J. Watt bring, it's going to be a recipe for a lot of opposing disasters. And then Keanu Benton is only going to get better. He's a guy that's really coming into his own. I really see this defense taking off this year.
You know, one of my favorite stories in a long time was Herbig talking last year about exchanging social media with T.J. Watt while Herbig was at Wisconsin. They didn't know each other, but Watt's a Wisconsin guy. He knew Herbig was Wisconsin. His brother wasn't on the team yet, but he's given the kid pass rushing techniques, and they're breaking down video. And you're basically in college learning from the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I think that means your ceiling's pretty high.
Well, and I think also T.J. Watt sees something in him, because I don't think he's doing that for every outside linebacker that responds to him on social media. There's a connection not only by the university, but there's a certain trait that you see, and I'm sure he's watched him play being a Wisconsin fan and said, you know what, that kid's got something. Let's go ahead and communicate. So that bodes very well for him. And then getting to be in the same classroom with T.J. Watt and have that one-on-one in-person experience is invaluable to a guy like Nick Herbig. There we go. See?
That's the show with Missy a couple of years ago. That was during a COVID camp at then Heinz Field, now Acrisure Stadium.
Missy, it needs to be turned towards his head. Not to the sky. It's not a fist pump. Just remember that.
She got around to it, believe me.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. Max, that was fun for starters. Let's do it again tomorrow.
I can't wait to do it again. Same time, same places?
Same,
because it's
same
not one
stations,
place.
Same everything. But you don't have to wait until tomorrow to get more of this kind of quality programming. I'll be back at 3 o'clock today. I will be joined at that juncture by Craig Wolfley, and we will handle the wrap-up show. And don't forget, you can catch all of these quality shows on all of your Steelers digital and social platforms. The morning show, the Training Camp Live presented by FedEx, is also brought to you on Steelers Nation Radio. That's going to do it for this morning. For Max Starks, I'm Mike Pursuta. Thanks for finding us.